And welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And it's my channel where I like to spotlight and highlight and give some love to my favorite movies. And tonight we are going to talk about one of my favorite 80s horror. The last one was so disturbing. Now let's have some fun. And that is, we're going to talk about the unrated director's cut of Night of the Creeps. Yes. Thrill me. It does. It really does. So yeah, this is the remastered director's cut, Night of the Creeps, which was released in 1986. It was written and directed by Fred Dekker, and it stars Jason Lively as Christopher Romero, and Steve Marshall as Jay Carpenter, and the girl who's Cynthia. It was Cynthia Cronenberg. So it's like all the people are named after famous horror directors. So it's kind of cute. And it of course stars Atkins, the wonderful Tom Atkins. Like I said, it was released in 1986. It is a hilarious comedy horror to me, and I just love it. It's really great. It's one of those 80s movies you've got to have in your collection, horror movies anyway. And yeah, it starts out with these really cheesy aliens on an alien ship, and they look kind of neat, but at the same time they look very, very schlocky. It's all supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, and it's really cool. But they're having some kind of fight over an experiment. I guess they're being attacked. Someone's trying to get this experiment. And so you got these two alien races fighting over, or maybe it was just a faction within trying to get their hands on it. And it doesn't go well, the fight, and the experiment ends up being ejected when they try to blow the ship up. And it lands in Sorority Row of 1959, which is a wonderful atmosphere. They did, the set design and everything, the clothes, the set design was just wonderful. The soundtrack was wonderful as well. So it's 1959, and everybody's doing their Sandra D, thing. And the guys all look cute in their button-ups and sweaters, and the girls all look like Sandra D and shit like that. It's really cool. And we're introduced to Pam. Pam is this girl who's being picked up for a date. His name Jimmy or something. But she gets picked up for a date, and they go parking, and then they go onto some. While they're parking at Lover's Lane, a meteor comes over them, or what looks like a meteor. And the dude is really interested, so he follows it to go look for where it landed. And they end up parking on the side of the road, and he goes into the woods to look for it. Now, she hears on the radio that there is an escaped serial killer, a crazy guy from the nut house, who had axed up a bunch of people, and he was going down Route 66 towards this university campus, and she looks, and there's the signs right there, right? That campus is 3 miles away. She's on Route 66, so she starts calling for him. And then we see this guy step out the woods, coming up behind her, and he's a crazy guy. He's that crazy guy, and he's got an axe. He comes right up behind her, and he starts chopping her up. So that was pretty gross. It was pretty cool. And then we flash forward to Rush Night at the same sororities and all. We flash forward to 1986 during Rush Week. Right. So all of these parties are going on. And once again, the nostalgia, I'm in heaven at the set design, right? Because all of these people look exactly like they're supposed to, and it's really cool. You hear all of this GenX stuff now, and it is the best generation. And so many things are great about it, because, and when you watch a movie like this, you see what some of that is. And society today is just like everybody is sheep. Everybody is so less than Gen X. And, well, that's because it's coming from a Gen Xer, right? All I know is we're different than you people. Because you look around today and it's just like everybody looks the same and nobody's got any individuality and anything like that. And when you watch a movie like this, you see exactly what it was, because despite the fact that everybody's there, and of course they're playing this wonderful 80s music in the soundtrack, but what I love about it is that all the girls look different and all the boys look different. Everybody looks like an individual. I mean, like 10 boys, they were all run up in the street. Each one of them has a different hairstyle, even if it's similar or close. It's different. Each one of them are dressed just a little differently. The girls, yes, they had big hair and stuff like that, but some had the Pat Benatar look, and some had the Stevie Nicks look, and some had the Blondie look. So they may have looked similar, but they all still look different. Nowadays, you walk down the street, and it's like you can't tell anybody apart. All the chicks have that stupid hair part down the middle, straight. Looks like somebody's poured oil on their head, trying to look like Kim Kardashian. And all of the guys look like ex or current Nazi militia members who just got out of prison with shaved hair and dirty ass hobo beard. Looks like they ain't took a bath in a fucking week. And it's like, no. No. No, that's just one of 1,000 reasons why Gen Xers are the last great generation. And I know that there's lots of people that's like, I want, that are like going, you're right. We admit it. You got millennials and Gen Zs and Gen Alpha, whatever the shit's going on now. You have a lot of them going, we admit it and we're going to be like that. And so you have all these people like actually taking on Gen X attributes, because when you stop and think about it, yes, that is the best. So I appreciate that, and I think that you're on the right track. And that was a little rant from the side road. Where the hell was we? We were back at all the cute guys at Rush Week, weren't we? Who all look different. You actually have choices. Some of these women I don't see, they go to the club with their boyfriends, and it's like, how do you not lose them in the crowd? They all look the same. They have a certain, I recognize his cologne. That's the only way I knew that was my husband over the other 4 guys that were fighting on the floor. Because none of them have any hair, and they all have beards, and it's like, I don't know, it's a sense of smell is the way I find my husband, because you certainly can't tell him apart from anybody else. And I just won't stop, will I? So, okay. So we're back and we're introduced to Chris and JC and Cynthia and all of them. And it's absolutely hilarious. Chris, he wants, he's all crushy on Cynthia, and wants to get introduced. There is so much hilarious dialogue in this movie, cheesy 80s dialogue. It's fantastic. And they know it too. What do they call it? Self-aware. They're very self-aware, and they really play it up, and they do it fantastically. So he meets Cynthia and all of this kind of stuff. He wants to meet her, and so it's like he thinks the best way is to join one of these sororities, fraternities. So he does that. Him and JC actually try to join this beta fraternity, and they of course don't want them, but they see the opportunity to fuck with them. So they want them to go to a morgue and pick up a dead body and dump it on a certain fraternity's porch. That's the price of getting in to the fraternity. even though they weren't really going to do it. So actually, they do go and try. Chris and JC, they go looking for a corpse. They go to the morgue at the university morgue, and they end up in a special experimental department. And the idiot had left the door with only one button left on the password, which JC hit correctly. So they go in there and they find that guy from 1959. He's in cryogenic freeze, more stupidness. They let him out. He twitches and stuff, which scares them, and they run off. And the tech goes in there, and boom, here it goes, because the little creatures that look like slugs, they come out, get into him, kill him, or you appear to be dead for a short period of time until it reanimates you. So now we have it spreading throughout the town, and it's hilariously funny because you get to see all of these people, and they get dressed up for the dance, and stuff like that. All the meanwhile, we're seeing all of these really cool scenes with the creatures spreading and infecting different people. Cynthia ends up finding out. She ends up finding out about it pretty much before anybody else. When the guy from 1959 comes back to the exact same window he had tried to see his girlfriend at. So his head pops open right in front of her. All the little slugs go everywhere. She goes and tells Chris and JC. So basically you have these three people are the only people that know what's going on. You got the sheriff detective, Tom Atkins, who is fantastic. He gets in on it and starts realizing, because he remembers, he was the cop. That Pam girl that got cut up in that car, that was his ex-girlfriend. And he was still heartbroken over her when this happened. So, as all of these things and bodies start piling up and all of this kind of stuff happens, we find out that he had actually found that guy. And he had killed him. And he had buried him under what is now the house mom's apartment. So, we have the cool scene where that creature, that 25-year-old dead body, gets reanimated by one of the... and comes through the floor and axes that old lady's head in half. You can definitely tell the stuff they put back in this movie, because it is definitely not rated R, gore-wise. So, the detective ends up getting Chris and telling him the truth about what had happened back then and what he had done. And Chris tells him what they know. And so you now have these four people who are basically the ones that are trying to stop this invasion of these creeps, these creepy slugs. JC's scene in the bathroom where he has to, the maintenance man goes in there and his head opens up and he figures out that they can be hurt by fire because he puts a match on one. So they're really sensitive to fire. Sort of like the aliens in Signs were sensitive to water. These are sensitive to fire. So it did make me sad though, because JC did get infected and you didn't really hear from him for about 15 minutes of the movie. They didn't know where he was. And you knew, because that bathroom scene fight between him and the slugs was just really cool. I like trying to read the stuff that's on the walls in the bathroom stalls. That's a little thing you could do. Some interesting stuff is written on those walls if you want to freeze frame it. Especially the one that says Striper rules, which is bullshit. I hate fucking Striper. Striper makes me fucking sick. I hate that group. Let's don't go any there. Okay. So anyway, the more shit starts happening, I love there's this bus wreck. The zombie cat was hilarious. The infected dog was hilarious as well. The infected dog is what caused that big truck full of jocks to wreck And then, of course, all of the little squigglies got in them, and they came. What was another good scene was when Brad, Cynthia's ex-boyfriend, he was such a dweeb, but he shows up at the door, and he's literally zombified. And this complete stereotype of the dumb blonde, answers the door. And she's looking at basically this zombified thing, and she's like, "Oh, really cute, Brad. Cynthia, Brad's here." And I'm like, "Can't you tell something is wrong with that dude?" She was just like clueless, It's like Chrissy from Three's Company, So she had really cool hair, though. I will say that. Everybody had really cool hair in this movie. So, like I wouldn't think so, right? But, yeah, it was like absolutely fantastic. So when you have them figuring it out, there's also this cassette tape that JC left for Chris. And when you read it, it completely solved that debate. Believe it or not, there's a debate out there about this movie, and that is JC being gay or not. Straight women, yes, he's gay. Lesbians, yes, he's gay. Gay men, yes, he's gay. The only ones who don't think that JC is gay is straight guys, or mostly straight guys. And that they're just like, "What, man, you can't have a buddy? You can't have a buddy that you love? You can love a buddy and all." I'm like, dude, this is a 1986 B-movie horror comedy slash. It's not Apocalypse Now, okay? It's not a movie about the Vietnam War and Dire Straits singing Brothers in Arms in the background. When they play that cassette tape, believe me, Bubba bromances do not say "I love you" like that. Okay. There is no debate. So I think that's kind of funny. You can find it on Reddit and places like, just Google it. Is JC gay? You'll see nobody but certain insecure straight guys who are going, "No, he's not gay. They were just really good friends." Well, yeah. So was Cher and Meryl Streep in Silkwood. Meryl Streep knew that, she was in love with Kurt Russell, and she knew that Cher loved her. Cher was gay. Cher had a girlfriend, and she even admits it to her in the middle of the thing. It's like, "I love you," and she's like, "I know you do. I know you do. This is all we can be, though. But I do know, and I do appreciate that you love me." Anyway. So yeah. It's just obvious. It's very obvious. So that's an interesting little side note that there is that little debate out there, and I think it's kind of funny when you kind of figure out who thinks what. So once Chris tells Detective about the fire and everything, they end up going and getting a flamethrower, and there's the big, huge end fight scene where they're going to blow up the campus building, or the sorority house. And he finds the nest, which is really cool. And there's lots of really cool fight scenes, lots of, all of that's in there. And then he ends up making Chris and her leave, and he's going to blow himself up, probably as a final sacrifice, because he's always blamed himself about what happened to Pam back in 1959. So he does end up blowing up the house, and you think that that's the end of the movie, but then you see this burnt corpse-looking thing walking down the road, and it falls on the ground, and head pops out, and all these little slugs come running out of it. And he drops right in front of the gate of a cemetery. And you're like, "Oh no, the dead will rise tonight." You know what I'm saying? And it starts zooming in over the cemetery. And then you see this big giant spaceship come over the cemetery with spotlights because they're looking for these things. So, I mean, it's not like they sent them here to hurt us. They got loose, and they've come to clean up the mess. I'd love there to have been, wish you could find out what they did, because the aliens came to save us is what they did. And that's how the movie ends, is with the spaceship, like, doing its thing over the graveyard looking for them. So they know it's here. Hopefully they have the technology to save us, right? That's what you're just going to have to hope. But yes, Night of the Creeps, absolutely hilarious. There's some gory, gross stuff in it too, which is, if you're going to show me a horror comedy, that's what you need to do. They did have some boob shots, and I was a little pissed off because they didn't have any butt shots. And they're like, well, actually there is, that tech, when he, like, he's laying there in front of the cops, and he's, like, naked on his stomach, his head's all above it. And I was like, my brother told me that. And I'm like, bro, look, chicks getting ready for a dance and showing their boobs in the shower, that's TNA. Not my kind of TNA, but that's TNA. A dead guy laying on the ground with his head blown open, just because it's showing his butt, that's not a TNA. That doesn't count as TNA. Okay? He's like, well, but his butt's there. And I'm like, well, yeah, sure. Okay, all right, fine. He's got a sexy butt. What? You just ignore the brains all over the wall. He's got a sexy butt because he's laying there dead. A dead body laying on a slab or the floor or something like that does not count as TNA. Okay? It is not a butt shot. It is, but it's not. I mean, unless you're of the Ted Bundy persuasion, you're not going to find that attractive, He should know that. I mean, what? This is just for you, Yancey. Zach. This is for you. If some movie shows a dead girl laying on the slab with her boobs hanging over, are you going to think that that's all sexy? No. Okay. Don't tell me that there is a butt shot in this movie, because there's not. That dead boy laying on the ground with his head blown open is not a TNA shot. It don't work that way. Unless I said, you're Ted Bundy or something. You're not going to find that very attractive. So, that was Night of the Creeps. It's definitely, if you don't have it, you should. If you do, let me know what you think about it. If not, you should really find it. It is absolutely hilarious. And you'll have to get used to these weird side roads that I take. Things come up, and I just have to talk about them. They're strange. But let me know what you think about Night of the Creeps. Every horror collector should have it. It is absolutely grade A cheesy schlock. And I love it. It's funny. It's nostalgic. It is just a really fun ride. And I will see you in the next thing I do. Love you, miss you, bye. Always remember, no matter what anybody tells you, you are a very, very special person. Or how anyone treats you. Keep looking. Blood doesn't make family. Love makes family. You will find it. Just keep looking. There's people out there who will care for you if you think you're in a position where nobody does. Besides, I love you. And I will see you in the next thing I do. Bye-bye.